The world holds its breath. In every corner of the globe, from bustling cities to quiet rural towns, a sense of unease settles over daily life. People pause, eyes glued to screens searching for answers in the relentless stream of breaking news. Conversations hush, replaced by the low hum of uncertainty. The air feels heavier, as if the planet itself is waiting for what comes next. As dawn breaks over iconic skylines, London, New York, Shanghai, the mood is somber. Landmarks that once symbolized progress and stability now stand as silent witnesses to a world on edge. The mist that clings to these cities seems to echo the fog of confusion clouding the minds of millions. In the streets, the usual rhythm of life is disrupted. Commuters, usually lost in their routines, now move with hesitation. Faces once animated with purpose are drawn tight with worry. It's as if time itself has slowed, the world collectively holding its breath, waiting for clarity that never seems to come. April 9th, 2026. Oil prices rocket past $130 a barrel, sending shockwaves through global markets. This isn't just a number, it's a warning, a flashing red light signaling economic pain and instability ahead. The spike is sudden, dramatic, and impossible to ignore. For investors, business owners, and ordinary families alike, the implications are immediate and deeply unsettling. Markets from London to Tokyo are in turmoil, red arrows everywhere. The trading floors, once symbols of order and control, are now scenes of chaos. Phones ring off the hook, traders shout over each other, and the tension is palpable. Governments scramble into emergency sessions, their leaders huddled behind closed doors, searching for solutions as experts deliver grim forecasts on live television. On the streets, people watch fuel prices climb higher by the hour. At gas stations, drivers stare in disbelief at the numbers on the pump, calculating what this means for their daily lives. Delivery drivers, commuters, and families on tight budgets all feel the squeeze. The question isn't if this will affect you, but how badly, and for how long. Our global economic system feels suddenly fragile. Every news alert, every push notification adds to the tension. News anchors speak in urgent tones, their faces grave as they try to make sense of the unfolding crisis. Social media feeds are flooded with speculation, fear, and desperate questions. The sense of vulnerability is everywhere. This crisis knows no borders. A tremor in one region triggers global aftershocks. Political corridors and military command centers are on high alert, their screens filled with maps, data, and live feeds from around the world. Leaders weigh their options, aware that every decision could have far-reaching consequences. The interconnectedness of our world, once a source of strength, now amplifies the risks. In supermarkets, shoppers notice prices creeping up on everyday essentials. The cost of transporting goods rises with every tick of the oil price, and families begin to worry about how far their paychecks will stretch. The ripple effects are everywhere, touching every aspect of daily life. The world stares into a chasm of uncertainty, realizing how dependent we are on the free flow of energy. Headlines scream of crisis, and the future feels more unpredictable than ever. People wonder what tomorrow will bring, and whether the systems they've always relied on can withstand the shock. The dramatic oil surge is just the most visible symptom of a deeper crisis. It's a crisis of confidence, security, and stability. In boardrooms and government offices, leaders debate next steps, knowing that every move will be scrutinized by a nervous public. The stakes are enormous, and the margin for error is razor thin. Across the globe, families gather around kitchen tables, small business owners recalculate their budgets, and students watch the news unfold on their laptops. Everyone is searching for reassurance, for a sign that things will stabilize. But for now, uncertainty reigns. The balance underpinning our modern lives is at risk. The world is watching, waiting, and worrying. The stakes have never felt higher, and the next chapter is unwritten. The epicenter of this crisis is the Middle East, a region where history, politics, and religion collide in a complex web of alliances and enmities. For generations, this land has been a crossroads of civilizations, but today, it stands at the brink of chaos, its fate uncertain. A fragile ceasefire is unraveling, with skirmishes breaking out along tense borders. Each day brings new reports of gunfire and shelling as rival factions test the limits of restraint. The threat of a wider conflict looms ever larger, casting a shadow over daily life. Rhetoric escalates and accusations fly. Peace is slipping away. Politicians trade blame on live television, fueling public anger and deepening divisions. The media amplifies every provocation, making compromise seem ever more distant. Decades of rivalries and sectarian divides fuel the volatility. Old wounds are reopened and communities that once coexisted now eye each other with suspicion. The scars of past conflicts are never far from the surface, shaping every interaction and decision. Proxies and non-state actors provoke, making de-escalation nearly impossible. Armed groups, often backed by outside powers, exploit the chaos to advance their own agendas, launching attacks that threaten to ignite a regional firestorm. Major powers play a dangerous game, where one misstep could spark catastrophe. Behind closed doors, generals and diplomats weigh their options, knowing that any decision could have far-reaching consequences. The stakes have never been higher. Diplomatic efforts are drowned out by calls for confrontation. International organizations struggle to mediate, but their voices are often lost amid the clamor for action. On the streets, protesters demand justice, while leaders grapple with impossible choices. Trust has evaporated, replaced by suspicion and paranoia. Every movement is watched, every word dissected for hidden meaning. The sense of impending danger is palpable, as if the entire region is holding its breath. Military buildups intensify, fleets reposition, air defenses stand ready. Armies mobilize along borders, and the skies buzz with the sound of warplanes. The world's attention is fixed on the region, aware that a single spark could ignite a devastating conflict. The region is a powder keg, the world watching as the fuse burns short. Journalists risk their lives to report from the front lines, capturing the tension and fear that grip the population. A single incident could unleash conflict on an unimaginable scale. The aftermath of each explosion is a grim reminder of how quickly order can collapse and how fragile peace truly is. The fate of the region and global stability hangs in the balance. Leaders from around the world scramble to respond, aware that their choices will shape the future for millions. It's a terrifyingly precarious situation, with every second that passes bringing the world closer to a point of no return. At the heart of the crisis is the Strait of Hormuz, the world's most critical oil choke point. 1/5 of global oil passes through this narrow waterway daily. Its strategic importance is immense. Whoever controls it controls the global oil tap. Instability here threatens the world's energy supply. Rival navies, sea mines, and drone threats have turned the strait into a high-risk zone. Even the threat of disruption sends oil prices soaring. Insurance costs for tankers skyrocket. Crews sail through a potential war zone. Any closure would be catastrophic. Millions of barrels lost overnight, prices spiking further. The world's economies depend on this vulnerable artery. Naval powers patrol, but security is far from guaranteed. The Strait of Hormuz is a choke point for the entire global economy. Global markets react with panic. Stock indices plunge, investors flee risky assets, gold surges past $20,500 an ounce as a safe haven. Government bonds from stable economies are in high demand. The real-world impact is immediate. Pension funds shrink, consumer confidence collapses. Businesses delay investments, hiring freezes begin, layoffs loom. Central banks face a dilemma: fight inflation or support growth. There's no easy answer. The market isn't just reflecting the crisis, it's amplifying it worldwide. For India, this crisis is existential. Relying on imports for over 85% of its oil, India is hit hard by surging prices. The national budget is blown apart, the rupee weakens, fuel prices soar, hitting families and farmers alike. Inflation spreads, raising costs for food, transport, and daily essentials. The poor and middle class bear the brunt, with millions pushed closer to poverty. The government scrambles for solutions, diversifying suppliers, pushing renewables, but these take time. Today, economic pain is acute and immediate. India's struggle is a stark example of how distant conflicts hit home. The crisis is personal for 1.4 billion people. The crisis reveals how deeply interconnected our world is. Political standoffs in the Middle East ripple into inflation everywhere. Developed economies face higher prices and rising interest rates. Developing nations risk balance of payments, crises, and currency collapses. Small businesses and farmers see costs soar, profit margins vanish. Food prices rise as energy costs hit agriculture. Global supply chains buckle, leading to shortages and delays. The effects are felt from the gas pump to the grocery store. This is a lesson in how distant events shape our daily lives. This crisis exposes the double-edged sword of globalization. Decades of interconnected trade brought prosperity, but also vulnerability. Our dependence on a few key regions for energy is a systemic risk. When stability falters, the whole system shakes. Financial markets transmit panic at lightning speed, amplifying shocks. Nations now rethink dependencies, seeking energy independence and resilient supply chains. Security and self-sufficiency are gaining ground over pure efficiency. The world may become more fragmented and competitive. The foundations of the global order are being tested. We're witnessing a turning point in how nations approach globalization. The crisis is captured in a series of stark headlines. Brent crude surges past $130 as Middle East ceasefire collapses. This headline marks the start. Conflict driving up oil prices. Global markets in freefall. Fear gauge spikes as investors flee to gold. Panic and loss of confidence ripple through financial systems. India faces inflation tsunami as fuel prices soar, hitting poor the hardest. The crisis becomes personal, impacting daily lives and deepening inequality. Diplomatic efforts falter as world powers warn of wider conflict. Institutions struggle, and the risk of escalation grows. Each headline is a snapshot of chaos, fear, and uncertainty. The world's leaders and citizens alike are left searching for answers. The worst may be yet to come. This isn't just about oil or stock indices, it's about people. Every headline, every market fluctuation, and every policy decision ripples through the lives of ordinary individuals. When we talk about economic crises, it's easy to get lost in the abstract, but behind every statistic are real stories. Stories of hope, fear, and resilience. Behind the data are families struggling with rising costs and shrinking budgets. Parents are forced to make difficult choices between paying rent or buying groceries, between saving for the future or simply making it through the week. Children sense the tension, even if they don't fully understand it, as the weight of uncertainty settles over the household. Small business owners fear for their livelihoods. For many, their shops and services are more than just a source of income. They're the result of years of hard work, dreams, and sacrifice. Now, with fewer customers and mounting bills, the future feels precarious. Each closed sign is a story of ambition paused, of communities losing their heartbeat. The crisis exposes deep inequalities. While the wealthy find safe havens for their assets, the poor face hardship and uncertainty. The gap between privilege and struggle becomes more visible, as some weather the storm in comfort while others are left vulnerable. These contrasts remind us that the impact of crisis is never evenly shared. Years of progress against poverty are at risk. Communities that have fought hard for every gain now see those advances threatened. Charities and aid organizations work tirelessly, but the need is overwhelming. For many, the hope of a better tomorrow feels more distant than ever. This is a crucible, forcing us to confront the vulnerabilities of our world. Across continents and cultures, people are united by shared adversity. The crisis tests not only our systems, but our compassion and solidarity. It asks us to look beyond borders and differences, to recognize our common humanity. The global economy is a human ecosystem, only as stable as its political foundations. Markets may seem distant, but their tremors are felt in every home and workplace. The choices made in boardrooms and parliaments shape the destinies of millions, reminding us that stability is built on trust, cooperation, and shared responsibility. Today's events are a seismic shock, demanding a rethinking of energy supply chains and security. The systems we once took for granted now reveal their fragility. From fuel shortages to disrupted trade, the world is being forced to adapt, innovate, and reconsider what resilience truly means. The future is unwritten. This crisis could drive positive change or deepen divisions. It is a crossroads, where the actions of today will echo for years to come. Will we choose unity and reform, or allow fear and mistrust to widen the gaps between us? The choices we make now will shape the world for generations. Every act of kindness, every policy, every innovation plants a seed for the future. In classrooms, in homes, and in communities, hope is being nurtured, even in the face of adversity. This is more than a news cycle, it's a defining moment. The stories unfolding today will be remembered by history, not just for their challenges, but for the courage and determination they inspire. The future is being forged in the crucible of this crisis. What emerges will depend on our choices, our values, and our willingness to stand together. In this moment, we are all part of the story.